2 months after the surrender at Centrum Prime, the trial began. It was held on Earth, in a specially built courtroom that could accommodate representatives from every species in the galaxy. The proceedings would be broadcast live to every world. There would be no secrets, no backroom deals, just truth and justice witnessed by all. Judge Somin Bayek entered the courtroom and the room fell silent. She was chosen for her reputation as fair and incorruptible. She had spent 30 years as a jurist handling everything from trade disputes to war crimes. But nothing in her career prepared her for this. 47 defendants sat in the accused section. Council Overseer Vreth sat in the center, his reptilian face showing no emotion. Around him were the others who had planned and executed the Ember Colony massacre. Military commanders, political leaders, bureaucrats who had written the orders. "This tribunal is called to order," Judge Beck said. "The defendants are charged with genocide, crimes against sapient life, and conspiracy to commit murder." "How do you plead?" Vreth stood. "I plead not guilty. I acted in the best interest of galactic stability. I committed no crime." "Noted," Judge Beck said. "Ambassador G1 Park will serve as chief prosecutor. Present your case." G1 stood and walked to the center of the courtroom. She had prepared for this moment. 3 months of gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, building a case so strong that no one could deny the truth. "Your Honor, I will prove that these defendants planned and executed a deliberate massacre of civilians. They did not act in self-defense. They did not respond to any threat. They murdered 2 million innocent people because they feared humanity's growing influence in the galaxy." She activated a hologram. It showed council meeting records from 6 months before the attack. Vreth's voice filled the courtroom. "The humans are becoming too powerful. Their ideas of equality and freedom are spreading to other species. If we do not act now, they will undermine everything we have built. I propose a demonstration, a reminder of who maintains order in this galaxy." Another council member spoke. "What kind of demonstration?" "A colony. Destroyed completely. Maximum casualties. It will show the humans their place and discourage other species from following their example." The hologram showed the vote. 12 species voted yes. 35 abstained. None voted no. The courtroom erupted. Representatives from species that had abstained looked shocked. They had not known the full context of that vote. They had been told it was a security matter, a necessary action against illegal weapons. "Order!" Judge Beck struck her gavel. Prosecutor Park, continue. G1 showed more evidence. Communications between council military commanders discussing which colony to target. Logistics reports planning the attack. Sensor logs from the attack itself, showing deliberate targeting of schools and hospitals. Then she played Dr. Yuna Lee's final transmission. The courtroom watched in silence as a brave woman faced her death with dignity. Her last words echoed in the chamber. "Tell them to remember us. Tell them the council crossed a line." Many in the audience wept. Even species that had no connection to humanity. Even some who had feared humans before. They wept because they understood. This could have been their world. Their families. Their children. Jiwan called her first witness. Taejin Yoon, the teacher who survived the massacre. He walked to the witness stand, still limping from injuries sustained in the attack. "Mr. Yoon, tell the court what you witnessed on Ember Colony." Taejin spoke quietly but clearly. "I was preparing lessons for my class. History. We were studying the early days of the Galactic Council when species came together in peace. Then the alarm sounded. We thought it was a drill, but when I looked outside I saw council ships in the sky." He paused, gathering strength. "The first strikes hit the elementary school 2 blocks from mine. I saw it happen. One moment, there was a building full of children. The next, there was fire. I tried to help, but more strikes came. The hospital, the residential towers, they were targeting civilians. What happened next?" Jiwan asked gently. "I ran to the emergency shelters, but they did not help. These shelters were built for storms, not military weapons. I found an escape pod in a maintenance bay. As I launched, I saw council ground troops in the streets. They were executing people, families, old people, children, anyone who survived the orbital bombardment." Taejin looked directly at Vreth. "They were laughing. The soldiers were laughing as they killed us. Like it was a game." Vreth's face remained emotionless, but others in the defendant section shifted uncomfortably. The next witness was Counselor Ithran, the one who had opposed the attack. He took the stand and told his story. I have served on the Galactic Council for 40 years, Ithran said. I believed we represented the best of civilization, peace, order, justice. But I was wrong. The Council had become corrupt. We feared change. We feared species that threatened our power. Did you know the attack on Ember Colony was being planned? Jiwan asked. I knew something was being discussed in closed sessions, but I was excluded from those meetings. When they brought the vote to the full council, they lied about what it was for. They said humans were developing illegal weapons. They said it was a limited security operation. I voted to abstain because I did not have enough information. When did you learn the truth? When the attack happened. When I saw the casualty reports. 2 million civilians dead. No military targets hit. No weapons found. Just murder. I went to Vreth and demanded an explanation. He laughed at me. He said the humans needed to be taught a lesson. That fear was better than cooperation. Ithran looked at the other council members who had abstained. I am guilty too. Not of voting for the attack, but of not doing enough to stop it. I should have investigated. I should have spoken out. I should have protected the innocent. I failed. We all failed. The trial continued for weeks. More witnesses testified, survivors, soldiers who participated in the attack and now regretted it. Intelligence officers who intercepted the planning communications. Each piece of evidence built an undeniable picture of premeditated genocide. Then something unexpected happened. A witness appeared who had been thought dead. Her name was Mirai Seo. She was found in a damaged stasis pod floating in the debris of Ember Colony. She had been in medical stasis when the attack began. The pod's automated systems kept her alive for 5 months. Mirai took the stand. She was weak, still recovering from her ordeal. But her voice was strong. I was a doctor at Ember Colony General Hospital. When the attack started, I was in surgery. A little girl. 8 years old. She had fallen and broken her arm. We were setting it. Then the building shook. Alarms. Explosions. We tried to evacuate the patients, but there was no time. She stopped, tears streaming down her face. The entire surgical ward was hit. Everyone died. The doctors. The nurses. The patients. I only survived because I was thrown into an emergency stasis pod when the ceiling collapsed. I woke up 5 months later on a human recovery ship. What do you want the court to know? Jiwan asked. Mirai looked at Vreth with pure hatred. That little girl's name was Hana. She wanted to be a veterinarian. She loved animals. She was laughing before the surgery, telling jokes to distract herself from being scared. She died afraid and in pain because this creature decided her life meant nothing. She turned to address the entire courtroom. 2 million people like Hana died. Every one of them had dreams, families, people who loved them. They were not statistics. They were not collateral damage. They were people, and these defendants took them from us. After 8 weeks of testimony, it was time for the defendants to speak in their own defense. Vreth took the stand. His lawyer advised him to show remorse, to claim he was following orders or protecting the galaxy from a threat. Vreth refused. I did what was necessary, Vreth said coldly. The humans were becoming too powerful. Their ideals were spreading. Democracy, equality, freedom. These concepts threaten the natural order. Some species are meant to lead, others to follow. Humanity refused to accept this. So I acted to preserve stability. So you admit you ordered the massacre? Jiwan asked. I ordered a necessary action to maintain galactic order. If 2 million died, it was because humanity refused to know their place. The courtroom erupted in outrage. Judge Back called for order, but the damage was done. Vreth had just confessed to genocide and shown no remorse. His own lawyer looked horrified. The prosecution called one final witness, Dr. Sunwoo Park. He stood before the court, facing the creature who had ordered his sister's death. Dr. Park, Jiwan said, you had the capability to destroy Centrum Prime and everyone on it. Why did you not? Sunwoo looked at Vreth. Because that would make us like them. My sister Yuna believed in healing, in helping people, in building a better future. If I had massacred millions in revenge, I would dishonor her memory. Justice is not the same as vengeance. We had to remember that, or we would become the monsters we were fighting. He turned to the court. I could have killed everyone who stood by and did nothing. The 35 species who abstained. But that would be wrong. Silence is not the same as murder, even if it enables it. We must be better than our worst impulses. We must choose justice over revenge. That is what separates civilization from barbarism. The trial concluded. Judge Beck reviewed all the evidence, the testimony, the communications, the videos. 3 months ago, the Galactic Council murdered 2 million human civilians. Today we have come the hour past in terrible silence. 50 million beings on Centrum Prime waited to see if they would live or die. The Shadow Fleet hung in space around the massive station like a noose ready to tighten. Admiral Daehyun Choi stood on the bridge of the shadow of Earth, watching the countdown timer reach 0. No response from the Council, his communications officer reported. Then they have chosen, Daehyun said. Activate planetary shields. Prepare singularity torpedoes. But remember, we are not them. Civilian sectors are off limits. Target military installations, government complexes, and defensive systems only. On Centrum Prime, Council Overseer Vreth stood in the emergency command center. Around him, representatives from the 47 species argued and screamed. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to fight. None of them had expected humanity to be capable of this. We must surrender Vreth and the others who voted for the attack, said Councillor Ithran, one of the few who had opposed the Ember Colony massacre. It is the only way to save the station. Never, Vreth hissed. I acted for the good of the Council, for stability. I will not be sacrificed because these primitives have a few new weapons. A few new weapons? Ithran gestured at the view screen showing the human fleet. They destroyed half our military in 3 months. They appeared here undetected. They have technology we do not understand. This is not about weapons anymore. This is about survival. Vreth activated the station's defense systems. We have shields that have never been breached. Weapons platforms built by the greatest engineers in the galaxy. They cannot harm us here, and when they waste their weapons on our shields, Council reinforcements will arrive and crush them. Ithran shook his head sadly. You still do not understand what you have unleashed. Outside the station, Admiral Choi received confirmation that the hour had expired. Very well, Dr. Sunwoo Park, are the new torpedoes ready? On the research vessel Prometheus, Dr. Sunwoo Park checked his calculations one final time. He had spent 3 months perfecting this weapon. 3 months thinking about his sister Yuna and her final moments. 3 months channeling grief into physics. The torpedoes are ready, Admiral. These are different from the ones we used at Kepler Station. More powerful. More focused. Their shields will not hold. Fire when ready. 20 singularity torpedoes launched from the Shadow Fleet. They moved slowly, deliberately. Centrum Prime's shields activated. A shimmering barrier of energy that had stopped 1,000 attacks over the centuries. The torpedoes hit the shield and seemed to stop. Then they activated. The black holes did not just attack matter. They attacked space itself. The shields were energy barriers in normal space. But the singularity torpedoes created pockets where normal space did not exist. The shields flickered, failed, and collapsed in sections. It took 7 seconds. Shields are down, Vreth's tactical officer reported in shock. That is impossible. Those shields have held against entire fleets. Nothing is impossible for humanity, Ithran said quietly. You should have remembered that before you killed their children. The Shadow Fleet advanced. But instead of destroying the station, they did something the Council never expected. They sent a transmission. People of Centrum Prime, we do not wish to harm civilians. We are here for those who ordered the Ember Colony massacre. Councillor Ithran has contacted us. He is willing to testify against the guilty. Any species willing to cooperate will be spared. Any species that protects the murderers will be treated as accomplices. On the station, chaos erupted. 12 species had voted for the attack. Now the other 35 species turned on them with fury. There would be no unity. No collective defense. Just every species trying to save itself. The Council fleet arrived 3 hours later. 200 warships dropping out of hyperspace to defend Centrum Prime. It was an impressive force. It would have been terrifying to face. But the Shadow Fleet was not impressed. Commander Jisoo Han smiled from the bridge of Shadow 01. Finally, a real fight. All ships engage at will. Show them what 3 months of hunting has taught us. The battle began. The Council had numbers. The humans had technology and experience. The Council ships fought like it was still the old wars, formations and broadsides. The humans fought like predators, fast and lethal. Shadow Fleet destroyers phased in and out of normal space, appearing behind Council ships and vanishing before return fire could hit. The heavy cruisers used quantum tunneling weapons that fired through shields as if they were not there. The dreadnoughts unleashed gravitational lances that crushed ships like tin cans. The shadow of Earth moved through the battlefield like death itself. Any Council ship that came close was destroyed. Admiral Choi directed the battle with cold precision, every move calculated for maximum effect and minimum human casualties. Their flagship is breaking formation, his tactical officer reported. They are attempting to retreat. Let them, Daehyun said. Send them home to tell their leaders what happened here. Fear is more useful than another destroyed ship. The battle raged for 3 days. The Council threw everything they had at the human fleet. Wave after wave of ships, experimental weapons, suicide attacks. Nothing worked. By the end, 80% of the Council's military fleet was destroyed or captured. The humans lost 7 ships. On Centrum Prime, Captain Yoonji Song led 10,000 Marines in a boarding action. They moved through the station section by section, securing government complexes and military installations. They were professional, disciplined, and utterly ruthless with anyone who resisted. Specialist Dongwoo Lee hacked into the station's central network. He broadcasted the evidence of the massacre conspiracy to every terminal on the station. Every being on Centrum Prime watched the Council meetings where the attack was planned. They heard Vreth arguing for maximum civilian casualties. They saw the vote counts the galaxy watched too. Dongwoo made sure every species, every world, every ship received the transmission. The Council's crimes were now public knowledge. There could be no denials, no cover-ups. Just truth, raw and terrible. Captain Minho Kim led a special team hunting for Vreth. The Scarix leader had gone into hiding when the battle started. But Minho had spent 3 months planning this moment. He knew where Vreth would run. They found him in a luxury residential sector trying to disguise himself as a civilian. Minho recognized him instantly, the same cold eyes that had stared from the screen when Ambassador Park demanded justice. You, Vreth said, seeing Minho's uniform. You are making a mistake. I am a council member. I have immunity. You had immunity, Minho said coldly. You lost it when you killed my daughter. Her name was Selman. She was 19. She wanted to be an artist. Do you even remember her? Do you remember any of their names? Vreth said nothing. I thought not. To you they were just numbers, statistics, problems to be eliminated. But they were people. They were loved. And you took them from us. Minho wanted to kill Vreth right there. Every fiber of his being screamed for vengeance. But he thought about what President He Jin-kang had said. We are not barbarians. We are not the Council. You are under arrest for genocide, Minho said. You will stand trial. You will face justice, and the galaxy will know what you are. They dragged Vreth away in restraints. He screamed about Council authority, about diplomatic immunity, about how this was an act of war. No one listened. General Seojin Kwan's black operations teams had been busy during the battle. They had simultaneously struck Council military installations across 40 systems. Every major base, every shipyard, every weapon depot. By the time the battle at Centrum Prime ended, the Council had no military capability left. They were defenseless. On the 4th day, the Council formally surrendered. The remaining representatives signed a document prepared by Ambassador Ji-won Park. It acknowledged the Ember Colony massacre as an illegal act of genocide. It dissolved the Galactic Council's military authority. It agreed to hand over everyone who had voted for or participated in the attack. 47 beings were arrested. Some tried to flee. They were hunted down. Some tried to fight. They died quickly. Some surrendered quietly, knowing their fate was sealed. President He Jin-kang addressed the galaxy from Earth. Her speech was broadcast to every world, every ship, every corner of known space. 3 months ago, the Galactic Council murdered 2 million human civilians. They did it because they feared us. Not our weapons, our ideas, our belief that all beings deserve freedom and dignity. They tried to teach us our place. They tried to break our spirit. They failed. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity did not seek this war. But we will finish it. Those responsible will face justice. The Galactic Council as it existed is dissolved. What comes next will be decided by all species together, not by some. Not by the powerful. By all. We have proven we can destroy those who threaten us. Now we will prove we can build something better. The Ember Accords will establish a new galactic compact, based on equality, on justice. on the principle that no species is above the law. We invite all peaceful species to join us. Together we will create a galaxy worth living in. On Centrum Prime, Admiral Daehyun Choi stood on an observation deck, looking at the damaged station. Commander Jisoo Han stood beside him. "We won," she said simply. "Yes," Daehyun replied. "But 3 months after the massacre at Ember Colony, the Galactic Council believed they had won. Human ships had withdrawn from Council space. Earth's ambassadors had gone home. Trade had stopped. To the Council, this meant humanity had accepted their defeat. They had been put in their place. The matter was settled. Council Overseer Vreth sat in his chambers on Centrum Prime, reviewing reports of human territory. "They are quiet," he said to his advisor, "sulking like children who have been disciplined." "Perhaps we should have destroyed more than one colony," the advisor suggested, "to ensure they truly understand." Vreth considered this. "No, one was enough. They know we can reach them whenever we wish. Fear is a better teacher than additional violence." He had no idea how wrong he was. In a hidden sector of space far from any Council sensors, Commander Jisoo Han stood on the bridge of her ship. The vessel had no official name. It was designated Shadow 01, the first of 50 stealth destroyers. Around her, the rest of the Shadow Fleet waited in the darkness. These ships were beautiful in a deadly way. Smooth black hulls that absorbed sensor scans, quantum drives designed by engineer Minseo Choi that could jump instantly across vast distances, weapons that bent the laws of physics. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. Jisoo nodded. She had been preparing for this mission her entire career. 3 months of watching the Council celebrate while humanity grieved. 3 months of waiting, planning, preparing. Send the message to Admiral Choi. The Shadow Fleet is ready to begin Operation First Strike. On Earth, Admiral Daehyun Choi received the message. He looked at the star map on his wall. Red markers showed Council military installations, 50 of them scattered across Council space. Each one would be hit simultaneously. "Execute," he said simply. The Shadow Fleet moved. Commander Jisoo's target was Kepler Station, a massive Council shipyard in the inner sectors. 300 warships were docked there, being repaired and refitted. It was the heart of Council military power. It was also heavily defended. Dozens of defense platforms, patrol ships, sensor grids that could detect anything within a light year. But those sensors could not detect the Shadow Fleet. "Approaching target," her navigator said. Dropping to normal space in 3, 2, 1, Kepler Station appeared on the view screen. It was enormous, a sprawling structure of docks and factories. Council ships clustered around it like fish at a reef. None of them knew what was about to happen. "All ships," Jisoo said calmly. "Weapons free. Target the docked vessels first, then the station itself. Minimize civilian casualties. These are military targets only." The Shadow Fleet opened fire. The first weapon used was Dr. Sun-Woo Park's creation. He called them singularity torpedoes. Each one contained a microscopic black hole held in a magnetic bottle. When the torpedo hit its target, the bottle broke. For just a fraction of a second, the black hole existed. That was enough. Matter was pulled into impossible densities. Then the black hole evaporated in a flash of radiation. The result was total annihilation. Council warships began to explode. Not from conventional weapons, from impossible physics. From technology the Council did not understand and could not defend against. 50 docked ships vanished in the first minute. Then 100. Then 200. The defense platforms tried to respond, but they could not lock onto targets they could not detect. The Shadow Fleet ships danced between them, invisible ghosts dealing death from the darkness. 14 minutes after the attack began, it was over. 300 Council warships destroyed. Kepler Station's military sections were shattered ruins, and the Shadow Fleet vanished back into quantum space before reinforcements could arrive. Across Council space, 49 similar attacks happened simultaneously. Supply depots erupted in flames. Military bases went silent. Patrol fleets vanished without sending a single distress call. In one coordinated strike, humanity had destroyed 30% of the Council's military capability, and the Council had not seen a single human ship. On Centrum Prime, alarms screamed. Vreth stood in the command center, staring at reports flooding in. "What is happening?" he demanded. Attacks across all sectors, a controller said, her voice shaking. 50 installations hit simultaneously. Thousands of ships destroyed. We have no visual confirmation of the attackers. Sensors show nothing. It is like fighting ghosts. It is the humans, Vreth said coldly. They have been busy these past months. Not sulking, preparing. Should we negotiate? Someone asked. No! Vreth slammed his fist on the console. Send peace envoys anyway. We must appear willing to talk while we regroup our forces. The peace envoys arrived at Earth's orbital defense station 3 days later. Admiral Daehyun Choi received their transmission and deleted it without reading. There would be no negotiations, not yet. Not until humanity had taken its pound of flesh. Commander Han, he sent via encrypted quantum link. Begin Phase 2. The Council's supply convoys. Cut their logistics, Jisoo smiled. Hunting convoys was easier than hitting fortified stations, and more effective. An army without supplies was not an army. It was just people waiting to die. The Shadow Fleet split into hunting packs. Over the next month, they stalked Council supply routes. Food shipments for colonies vanished. Fuel tankers disappeared. Medicine, spare parts, everything the Council needed to maintain its vast empire simply stopped arriving. Council worlds began to panic. Without trade, without supplies, they were isolated, vulnerable, and they knew the humans could strike anywhere, anytime, without warning. Meanwhile, Captain Min-ho Kim received a special assignment from General Seojin Kwan. We need intelligence. The Council is planning something. I need you to infiltrate their intelligence hub at Deneb Station and download their classified files. Min-ho assembled a team. Lieutenant Boranam would handle the electronic warfare. Specialist Dongwoo Lee would crack their security systems, and Min-ho would lead the insertion team. They approached Deneb Station using a captured Council shuttle. Dongwoo had reprogrammed its identification codes. As far as station sensors knew, they were a maintenance crew with proper authorization. They landed in a secondary bay. Bora immediately began jamming communications. We have 15 minutes before they realize something is wrong. Let us make them count. Dongwoo plugged into the station's network. His fingers flew across holographic keyboards. I am in, downloading everything. This is... Oh no. What? Minho demanded. The attack on Ember Colony. It was planned 6 months in advance. They voted on it. 12 species voted to attack. 35 abstained. None defended us. Dongwoo's voice shook with rage. They debated which colony to destroy. They chose Ember because it had the highest population. Maximum impact. Minho felt that cold anger again. The same feeling he had when he first saw Ember Colony's ruins. Download everything. Every file. Every communication. Every vote. I want the entire galaxy to know what they did. Alarms began to sound. Security is responding, Bora warned. We need to leave. They fought their way back to the shuttle. Minho killed 2 council guards who tried to stop them. He felt nothing. These were the people who had murdered his daughter. He would kill 1,000 more and sleep soundly. Back on Earth, Dongwoo's data was analyzed. The truth was worse than anyone imagined. The Council had not feared humanity's weapons. They had feared humanity's ideas, freedom, democracy, equality. These concepts threatened the Council's rigid hierarchy, so they decided to cull humanity before these ideas could spread. They were afraid of us, President Hijin Kang said, reading the reports. Not our military. Our philosophy. They knew if we kept growing, kept sharing our values, their entire system would collapse. So they tried to kill us first. What about the species that abstained? Someone asked. They did not vote for the attack. They did not vote against it either, Hyejin said coldly. Silence in the face of evil is evil. They will all pay. Admiral Daehyun Choi studied the tactical situation. The Council was reeling. Their military was shattered. Their supply lines were cut. Their people were afraid. It was time for the final blow. Commander Han, bring the Shadow Fleet to Centrum Prime, surround the station. It is time to end this. Jisoo received the order with satisfaction. All ships set course for Centrum Prime. Prepare for siege operations. This is what we have been building toward. One final strike and the Council falls. The Shadow Fleet emerged from quantum space in perfect formation around Centrum Prime. 50 stealth destroyers, 20 heavy cruisers, 5 dreadnoughts, and at the center, the Shadow of Earth, Admiral Choi's flagship. It was a monster of a ship bristling with weapons. Its quantum drive was so powerful it could tear holes in space itself. On Centrum Prime, sensors finally detected the human fleet. They appeared all at once, surrounding the station completely. There was no escape. Nowhere to run. Vreth stared at the view screen in horror. For 3 months, humanity had been invisible, striking from nowhere, vanishing before retaliation was possible. Now they appeared in overwhelming force, and their message was clear. No more hiding. No more mercy. This ends now. Admiral Choi opened a channel to the entire station. His face appeared on every screen. 50 million beings from 47 species looked at the human admiral and saw their fate in his eyes. People of Centrum Prime. This is Admiral Daehyun Choi of the United Earth Fleet. The news reached Earth like a shockwave. Every screen showed the same images. Ember colony burning, 2 million lives extinguished in 6 hours. At first, people could not believe it. This had to be a mistake. Some terrible accident. But as the reports came in, as survivor Taejin Yoon told his story, as Dr. Yoona Lee's final transmission played on every channel, the truth became clear. The Galactic Council had murdered their people, deliberately, mercilessly. President Hyejin Kang stood in the emergency session of the unified Earth government. Every representative was present. Every face showed the same expression. Rage mixed with grief mixed with disbelief. They hit the schools first, Hyejin said quietly. The hospitals. The residential districts. This was not a military operation. This was extermination, and they did it because they fear us. They fear what we might become. A representative from the Asian coalition stood. What do we do now? We prepare for war, Hyejin said simply. But first we try one more time for peace. Ambassador Park will confront the council. She will demand justice. And when they refuse, because they will refuse, we will show them what happens when you attack humanity's children. On Centrum Prime, Ambassador Ji-won Park walked into the council chamber. 47 species were represented here. 47 civilizations that had stood by and let this happen. She carried a data chip containing every piece of evidence, videos, sensor logs, Taejin Yoon's testimony, Dr. Yoona Lee's final words. Council Overseer Vreth sat on his raised platform, looking down at her. Ambassador Park, you requested this emergency session. Speak. Ji-won held up the data chip. I have evidence of genocide. War crimes committed by Council forces against Ember Colony. I demand a formal investigation. I demand those responsible be arrested and tried. I demand justice. Vreth did not even look at the chip. There will be no investigation. Ember Colony was developing illegal weapons. We acted within our authority to maintain galactic security. That is a lie. Ji-won's voice echoed through the chamber. Ember Colony was a civilian settlement. Scientists studying medicine. Families building a life. You murdered children. You overreact, Vreth said calmly. The Council acted in the best interests of all species, including humanity. Your expansion was becoming dangerous. This action was necessary to maintain balance. Ji-won looked around the chamber. 47 species? Not one of them spoke in humanity's defense. Not one. So that is your answer. You will do nothing. There is nothing to do, Vreth said. The matter is closed. Ji-won nodded slowly. Then humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. Effective immediately. You murdered our people. You refuse accountability, so we will have no more dealings with you. That would be unwise, Vreth warned. Without Council protection, humanity is vulnerable. Alone in a dangerous galaxy. Ji-won smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You think we are the ones who should be afraid? You have no idea what you have unleashed, but you will learn. Very soon. She walked out of the chamber. Behind her, she heard Vreth laughing. He was still laughing when she boarded her ship and left Centrum Prime. He would not be laughing much longer. On Earth, Admiral Daehyun Choi convened an emergency meeting of the Military High Command. Captain Minho Kim was there via hologram from the Indomitable. General Seojun Kwon, head of Black Operations, sat at the table. So did dozens of other officers, strategists, and scientists. Gentlemen. Ladies, Daehyun began. The Council has declared war on humanity. They did not use those words, but their actions speak clearly. 2 million of our people are dead. The Council refuses justice, so we will take it ourselves. What are our options? Minho asked. His voice was hollow, empty. He had lost his daughter. His grief had transformed into something cold and terrible. General Seojun stood. For the past 40 years since we joined the Council, we have been preparing for this possibility. We called it Project Ragnarok, a contingency plan for if the Council ever turned on us. A hologram appeared above the table. It showed ship designs, weapon systems, technology far beyond anything the Council possessed. We have been secretly developing advanced stealth ships, Seojin continued. Quantum drive technology that makes our vessels faster than anything in Council space. Weapons that can crack planetary shields. We built all of this in hidden shipyards far from Council sensors. We built it hoping we would never need it. How many ships? Minho asked. 200 stealth destroyers, 50 heavy cruisers, 20 dreadnoughts, and one prototype that we call the Shadow of Earth. It is bigger than anything the Council has, more powerful than their entire fleet combined. The room went silent. Finally, someone asked the question everyone was thinking. Why did we build all this? If we wanted peace? Daehyun answered. Because we are human. We hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst. We joined the Council with open hands and peaceful hearts, but we also remembered our history. We remembered that peace is only possible when good people have the strength to defend it. Lieutenant Boranam, the intelligence officer from the Indomitable, appeared on screen. Admiral, I have been analyzing intercepted Council communications. The attack on Ember Colony was planned for months. It was not a response to any threat. It was premeditated murder. They wanted to cull humanity before we grew too strong. How many Council members knew? Daehyun asked. 12 species voted for the attack. 35 abstained. None defended us. None even spoke against it. Daehyun looked around the table. Then we are truly alone. But that is nothing new for humanity. We have always been alone. We have always had to fight for our survival. This time will be no different. President Hyejin Kang entered the room. Everyone stood. Please sit, she said. I have just spoken with Ambassador Park. The Council has refused our demands. They laugh at us. They think we are weak, helpless. They think the matter is closed. She paused, letting her words sink in. They are wrong. I am authorizing Project Ragnarok. Admiral Choi, you have full operational control. General Kwan, your black operations teams are weapons-free. Captain Kim, you will lead the first strike. Show them what happens when you awaken a sleeping tiger. What are our rules of engagement? Minho asked. Hyejin looked at him seriously. We are not barbarians. We are not the Council. We will target military installations only. We will avoid civilian casualties whenever possible. We will fight those who fight us, not innocent people. But make no mistake, we will fight, and we will win. She turned to address the room. The Council wanted to teach us our place. Instead, they will learn what humanity truly is. We are explorers who became warriors when necessary. We are dreamers who turned into nightmares for our enemies. We are the species that crawled out of caves and reached for the stars. And when you threaten our children, when you murder our innocents, you discover why we survived every predator on our violent world. We are going to war, she continued, not for conquest, not for glory, for justice, for the 2 million souls of Ember Colony, who will never see another sunrise. We fight so that no other species will suffer what they suffered. We fight so the galaxy will know. Humanity protects the innocent, and humanity punishes the guilty. In orbit around Earth, the hidden shipyards activated. Ships that had waited in the darkness began to move. Crews that had trained in secret reported for duty. Weapons that had never been fired were charged and ready. Captain Minho Kim returned to the Indomitable. His crew looked at him, waiting for orders. He thought about his daughter Somin, her smile, her dreams, her future that had been stolen. All hands, this is the captain, he said over the intercom. We are going to war, not because we want to, but because we must. The Council thinks they have beaten us. They think we will accept what they have done. They are wrong. He paused, choosing his words carefully. We are going to hurt them. We are going to make them regret what they did. But we will not become them. We will remember who we are. We will remember why we fight. For Ember Colony, for justice, for the future. Across Earth's fleet, similar speeches were given. Similar resolutions were made. Humanity was united in a way it had never been before. No political divisions. No cultural conflicts. Just one species facing one enemy with one purpose. The Council had crossed a line. Now they would face the consequences, and humanity's wrath would be terrible to behold. The morning sun rose over Ember Colony like it had done for the past 20 years. Dr. Yuna Lee stood at the window of her laboratory, watching the golden light paint the buildings below. 2 million people called this place home. Children walked to school. Markets opened their doors. It was peaceful. It was beautiful. It was about to end. Yuna turned back to her workstation. The medical breakthrough she had been working on was nearly complete. The device on her table could extend life for any species in the galaxy. She smiled, thinking about how many people this would help. Her colleagues from Earth would arrive next week to review her work. The Galactic Council would be impressed. Maybe they would finally see humans as equals. Captain Minho Kim sat in the command chair of the Earth Defense Fleet vessel Indomitable. His ship patrolled the outer sectors, keeping trade routes safe. It was routine work, but necessary. His crew was professional and sharp. They had trained for combat, but hoped they would never need it. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Council for 73 years now. Those years had been peaceful. Minho looked at the star map. Ember Colony was just 6 hours away. His daughter lived there with her mother. She was studying art at the university. He planned to visit them next month. The thought made him smile. On Centrum Prime, the massive space station that served as the council headquarters, Ambassador Ji-Won Park sat in her office. She had just finished reviewing trade agreements with the Insectoid Creche delegation. The work was boring but important. Humanity needed allies. They needed friends among the stars. Her assistant knocked on the door. "Ambassador, there is unusual fleet movement near the human sectors." Ji-Won frowned. "What kind of movement?" "A council armada. Nearly 200 ships. They are heading toward Ember Colony." Ji-Won felt her blood run cold. "Did they file a notice? Is this a scheduled patrol?" The assistant shook his head. "No notice. No explanation." Ji-Won stood quickly. "Get me the council overseer. Now." Back on Ember Colony, Yuna received an emergency alert on her terminal. Unidentified ships approaching. She walked to the window again. In the sky, she could see them now. Dozens of vessels dropping out of hyperspace. Council ships. Their weapons were active. The colony's defense coordinator sent out a broadcast. "Attention all residents. This is not a drill. Proceed to emergency shelters immediately." Yuna grabbed her datapad and ran. The hallways filled with people. Everyone was confused. Why would the council attack? They were supposed to be allies, friends, protectors of peace. On the Indomitable, alarms blared across the bridge. Minho jumped from his chair. "Report! Captain, we are receiving distress signals from Ember Colony. They are under attack. Council vessels are firing on civilian targets." Minho felt the world stop. His daughter was there. "Set course for Ember Colony. Maximum speed? Charge all weapons." His tactical officer looked at him with wide eyes. "Sir, if we engage council ships, that is an act of war." "They fired first," Minho said coldly. "That ship has already sailed. Move!" The Indomitable leaped forward, pushing its engines beyond safe limits. 6 hours away, too far, much too far. On Centrum Prime, Ji-Won finally reached Council Overseer Vreth. The reptilian Scarix leader looked at her with cold eyes. "Ambassador Park, how may I help you?" "Why are your ships attacking Ember Colony?" Ji-Won demanded. "We received intelligence that your colony was developing illegal weapons. We are conducting a security operation." "That is a lie. Ember Colony is a civilian settlement. Scientists and families, you have no right." "We have every right," Vreth interrupted. "The Council maintains order in this galaxy. Your species has grown too comfortable, too bold. This is a reminder of your place." Ji-Won stared at him in horror. "You are murdering innocent people. We are protecting the greater good." Vreth ended the transmission. Ji-Won immediately contacted Earth. President Hyejin Kang appeared on the screen, her face pale. "I am watching the reports now. Tell me this is not happening." "It is happening," Ji-Won said, her voice shaking. "The Council is glassing Ember Colony. They claim it is a security operation, but that is a cover. This is a massacre." On Ember Colony, the bombardment continued. Energy beams turned buildings to ash. Yuna had made it to a shelter, but she knew it would not matter. These shelters were built for storms, not military-grade orbital strikes. Around her, people cried. They held their children. They prayed to gods who did not seem to be listening. Yuna pulled out her datapad. She recorded a message. "My name is Dr. Yuna Lee. It is March 15th, 2847. The Galactic Council is destroying Ember Colony without provocation. We have done nothing wrong. We are scientists, teachers, farmers. We are people. If anyone finds this, please tell Earth. Tell them we died innocent. Tell them the council crossed a line today. Tell them the shelter shook. The lights went out. Una kept recording in the darkness. Tell them not to let this stand. Tell them to remember us. Tell them. The transmission ended. 6 hours later, the Indomitable arrived at Ember Colony. Mino stood on the bridge staring at the view screen. Where a thriving city had been, there was only debris. Burning wreckage. Shattered dreams floating in the void. Life signs? He asked quietly. Scanning now, sir. The officer worked his console, hope fading from his face with each passing second. I am detecting one. A single escape pod. Automated beacon. Bring them in, now. They recovered the pod. Inside was a young man, barely conscious. His name was Taijin Yoon. He was a teacher. He had been preparing lessons when the attack began. He managed to reach an escape pod as his school burned around him. Minho sat with him in the medical bay. What happened down there? Taijin stared at nothing. They came from orbit. No warning. The first strikes hit the schools. Then the hospitals. They wanted maximum casualties. I saw council ground troops. They were executing survivors, children. They were killing children. Minho felt something break inside him. Not his mind, not his spirit. Something deeper. Something fundamental about who he was and what he believed about the universe. Sir, his communications officer called from the bridge. We have recovered a data core from the wreckage. It contains Dr. Yuna Lee's final transmission. Minho watched the recording. He watched a brave woman face her death with dignity. He listened to her final words. Tell them to remember us. He would remember. Earth would remember. Humanity would remember. The Indomitable turned toward Earth, carrying the only survivor and the evidence of what the council had done. In his ready room, Minho composed his report to Admiral Daehyun Choi. He chose his words carefully. The council has committed an act of genocide against Ember Colony. 2.3 million human civilians are dead. This was not a military action. This was murder. They have crossed a line. I await orders. He sent the message and sat in the darkness of his room. He thought about his daughter. Her name was Somin. She was 19 years old. She wanted to be an artist. She had her mother's eyes and his stubborn determination. She was gone now, turned to ash by people humanity had trusted, by a council humanity had believed in. Minho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the people responsible were celebrating. They thought they had taught humanity a lesson. They thought they had put humans in their place. They had no idea what was coming. The tiger had been sleeping. Now it was awake. And it was very, very angry.